Hey everyone! Today we're going to make some fluffy vegan donuts. No butter, no eggs, no milk. Let's go! Into a large bowl, measure out 250 grams of all-purpose flour. Add in 3 grams of salt and 10 grams of castor sugar. Give it a quick stir to disperse the salt through the flour. Then let's add in 4 grams of instant yeast. Stir everything again quickly, then make a well in the center of the bowl. Into that, we're going to pour in 180 ml of water and 45 grams of refined coconut oil. Coconut oil will give the donuts a rich flavor similar to butter, but be sure to use refined coconut oil or your donuts will end up tasting like coconut, unless that's what you're going for. Using a spatula, combine everything together until we get a rough, shaggy dough. Sprinkle our counter with some flour and tip the dough out onto it. Since this is quite a manageable amount of dough, I'm going to knead this by hand. But feel free to use a stand mixer or a food processor with a dough blade if you want. This dough is very sticky, so we need some flour handy to dust it whenever it gets too hard to control. If it starts sticking to the counter, use a dough scraper to scrape it off, dust it with a bit of flour and then knead again. We don't want to add too much flour here, just enough to keep the dough from sticking. If you add too much flour, the dough will be dry. We still want it to be supple and a little bit tacky. It will take about 8 to 10 minutes to knead the dough until it's ready. When it's done, it will be quite smooth but still be a little bit tacky. Do a window pane test to check. If you can see some light pass through without it tearing, it's done. We want to place the dough in a clear straight-sided container like this so it's easier to see when it's doubled in size. Or you could take a picture of the dough with your phone and compare it after. That works too. Press the dough down a bit and note where it starts. Cover with plastic wrap and leave to ferment for 30 minutes to an hour. The timing will vary depending on the temperature of your kitchen. If you live in a tropical climate like I do, check it 30 minutes and then every 10 minutes until it's doubled in size. So as you can see, we started out at just under 2 cups and now it's risen to almost 4 cups, so it's double already. Dust the counter with flour and place the dough onto it. Let's roll the dough out into a log, then divide the dough. This recipe makes 6 donuts. I find this to be a very manageable amount of donuts to make at home. You can absolutely double the recipe to make 12 or 14 donuts, but if your kitchen is very hot, you may have to refrigerate half the donuts while you're frying to avoid overproofing them. I'll explain more on this later. Each ball of dough is about 80 grams. Fold the dough into itself like this and pinch the bottom while twisting to create a ball. Arrange them together and cover them. We're going to leave them to rest for 10 minutes. While waiting, cut out 6 squares of parchment paper and arrange them onto a tray. Grease each one with a bit of oil. After 10 minutes, we can do the final shaping. Grab a ball and flatten it out. Then we're going to gather the edges and pinch them together. Make sure to twist and seal the bottom properly so it's nice and tight. If you want to cut a hole in your donut, this will be the time to do so. Place on the parchment paper squares and arrange them far apart so they can rise nicely. Press down ever so slightly with your fingers to even it out. Cover loosely with plastic wrap. Leave to proof for 30 minutes to an hour or until, you guessed it, double in size. In the meantime, let's prepare our frying oil, and oh, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to see more recipes just like this one. Prepare a wire rack on top of a baking tray, a spider and a heavy bottomed pot. Pour in about 1 liter of oil and heat it until it reaches 180 to 190 degrees Celsius. Having a thermometer is super handy here. We want the temperature to be constant so the donuts will fry evenly and turn out nice and fluffy and not greasy and doughy. It's important that we check on the dough regularly at this time to make sure they don't overproof. My kitchen is 30 degrees Celsius, so I have to be super careful. The minute it overproofs, the dough will collapse when you touch it and all your hard work will be for nothing, so do a visual check often. If you're doubling up the recipe, separate 6 onto a different tray. Cover and refrigerate the second tray, then start frying the first half in the order that you've shaped them to avoid overproofing. But if your kitchen has a cooler temperature, this isn't so much of a problem. You can probably get away with not refrigerating them at all. Once the donuts have doubled in size, we're ready to fry them. Gently pick up the donut by the edges of the parchment. We want to be extra careful here so as not to deflate the dough. Always be careful when working with hot oil to prevent any injuries. We don't want to drop the donut too high or we might splash hot oil all over the place. Let's not overcrowd the pot so there's a bit of breathing room for them to puff. We're going to cook them for about 2 to 3 minutes on one side and then flip them and cook on the other side until nice and golden. A good sign that your donuts have proofed perfectly is this white ring that we can see around it. This means that the donuts have puffed and filled with air so it's sitting higher in the oil. While the donuts are still hot, coat them generously in castor sugar. Now we need to make a little cavity for our filling to go in. Get a chopstick and poke a hole in the center of the donut. Push it around a bit to make room for the filling to go in. Let the donuts cool completely. But hold up, what flavor are these donuts going to be? Let me show you two different fillings. Let's make a vanilla custard filling. Pour 370 ml of barista oat milk into a pot and 125 ml of coconut cream. Sprinkle in 60 grams of castor sugar. Heat on medium-low and give everything a stir. In a small bowl, measure out 40 grams of cornstarch. Pour in enough oat milk to mix with the cornstarch. Into the pot, add a dash of turmeric powder for color. Once the sugar has dissolved and the milk is hot, pour in the cornstarch while stirring constantly. Keep on stirring until the mixture thickens. When that happens, take it off the heat and stir in 1 teaspoon of vanilla paste. Let the custard cool completely, then pour it into a piping bag. Pipe the custard into the cool donuts. Now let's make a chocolate filling. We need 100 grams of dark chocolate. Chop finely, then place into a bowl. Put 70 ml of oat milk on the heat and 30 ml of espresso or coffee. Add 20 grams of sugar and a pinch of salt. Lastly, a teaspoon of vanilla. Once it's hot and steaming, pour directly over the chopped chocolate. Let it sit for 1 minute, then stir vigorously until silky smooth. Refrigerate until it's thickened, then pipe into the donuts. Let's see what they look like inside. Still craving something sweet? Watch these videos next for some other vegan desserts and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.